Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome to another episode of Matter of Opinion. We live today. We live. All right. As for the newcomers, I'm your boy Walls P.
And
I
I'm
have
your
my
girl,
lovely
Erica.
guest. There you go, Erica. So yeah, we got a lovely topic for you. Well, plethora of topics tonight that we're gonna get into. Gary Lamb is in the building. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night where we have our live collaboration with the Gary Lamb Network, and it's definitely gonna be a hot one for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we got a plethora of topics that we're gonna knock down today. We're gonna be talking about the Daniel Penny and Jordan Neely. Is this man guilty for ending the life of Jordan Neely? We're also going to tackle Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, because as we know, next week, Ron DeSantis is set to announce that he will be trying to win the 2024 presidential election. Marjorie Taylor made some comments that a lot of people is looking at it like, yo, I don't like what she said. That's on the fence right there. But the last thing we're going to get into is also a Florida bill that can potentially put Black Americans and Asians against one another. So let's start off with this first topic. Should Daniel Penny be charged for the passing of Jordan Neely? So for those who don't know, Jordan Neely was a homeless man at the age of 30 who was riding on a subway train. And people say he was, making threats, all these other things while he was on the train. And people felt like they were in danger with his presence on the train. So Daniel Penny, a 24-year-old Army veteran, Marine, saw what was going on and placed him in a chokehold, held him in there for about people say 3 minutes, some people say 15 minutes. End result, he wound up losing his life. So let's take a look at this clip before we get into it of what transpired. And a lot of people are giving a lot of blowback also because Daniel Penny raised over $2 million. And right now he's facing the charge of second-degree manslaughter, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Erica P?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Let's check out that clip before we get into this debate, because like I said, I'm handing out hot L's today. So you ready for these L's?
I ain't getting no L's.
All right, we'll see.
All you doing is talk.
All right, let's run this clip real quick.
Today, the lawyers representing the Marine veteran charged with killing a man on a New York City subway are speaking out. It comes as a fundraiser for the vet who put the victim in a chokehold, now tops over $2 million. Stephen Fabian has details.
The Marine veteran accused in the chokehold death of a mentally ill homeless man on the New York subway tried desperately to save his life, his attorney said. 24-year-old Daniel Penny is charged with manslaughter after choking to death Jordan Neely, a popular Michael Jackson impersonator who fell on.
Now, one thing I definitely want to point out is that Michael Jackson impersonation thing that they're showing, that was like 10 years ago. But if you looking right now, you would think this is what he was doing currently. So I just want to point that out. That was 10 years ago that he was doing the Michael Jackson impersonation, and he fell on hard times since then. So let's continue.
On hard times. Penny's attorney tells CNN that the Marine veteran helped cops perform CPR.
As they were conducting the CPR on Mr. Neely and were doing it improperly, he actually borrowed on his Marine training to actually advise the responding police officers until the EMTs arrived as to how to conduct the compressions on the CPR.
The case is touching a raw nerve across a divided America. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is expressing support for Penny.
To be able to step in as a good Samaritan and protect people, I think that's something that was the right thing to do. And I don't think he should be prosecuted.
But others are comparing Neely's tragic death to the murder of George Floyd.
I got to pause that there, Erica P. Do you think the passing of Jordan Neely is comparable to George Floyd?
Similar, yes. And I think the biggest thing is it's like when people try to hold people down, they have to stop putting them in chokeholds. You could have held him any other kind of way, and he may have still been here. So I think that's the biggest thing. People don't realize how how tight those situations are with putting the chokeholds in. It's like, hey, you lose oxygen for a couple of seconds, it could be detrimental. You held anywhere from 3 to 15 minutes. That's suffocation.
See, I gotta disagree that Logic Rex is in the building. What's going on, Logic Rex? I gotta disagree that this is a George Floyd situation, only on the strength that George Floyd was, caught trying to sell illegal cigarettes or some shenanigan like that. Like, no, he had a fake $20 bill or something like that. He had fake money. And this was a case where you have people who was literally on the train saying that they felt threatened by Jordan Neely. So I don't see it. Yeah, it may be a situation of a chokehold being applied, but as far as I don't see it something like George Floyd's situation. I don't see that because George Floyd was not doing any acts of violence or terroristic threat whatsoever. So on that strength, I'm like, I can't compare the two. Like there was no arguments made for what's this? I forgot what this officer name is. That there was like nobody. You had some people who were saying, oh, he was on drugs or whatever. That might have played a role, but nobody was excusing this man.
Correct.
So,
And I'm not saying that I can't compare the two. Like I said, they are similar situations when someone is applying a pressure to someone's neck. That's the only thing that I can see on that strip. But on the flip side, like you said, when you think of the circumstances, like, hey, he was doing.
Video. We can
Oh,
exit
you
this
going back to
video
the.
because we got I'm
Sorry, go
exiting the
ahead.
video because we got everything out of it. But go on.
Okay. So what I was going to say is with that being said, it's like, yes, is it for people, it resonates because it's like, hey, he might have been screaming loudly. He might have been hitting the ground. He could have been doing anything. Did he touch any person on the train? No. So you stopped him from possibly harming himself is what the narrative is. Okay. But what are you going to do after that? You held him down. Did anybody call for assistance? Did anybody look and see if there's a transit officer on the train? Did anyone go on to the platform because it was the subway? Once the subway car stopped, did anybody go try to get some help? Like, yes, I get the ambulance and stuff came later on, but it's like, if it took 15 minutes, then it's like, hey, that's a long time somebody's being down. Now, if you're talking it was only 3 minutes, then yes, you're right. 3 minutes, you don't think something like that is going to happen in a 3-minute time frame. But because no one can really tell what the exact time is, that's the baffling part.
So that's your reason why you think that he should be held responsible.
Yes, I do feel like he should be held responsible because most of these states do not have Good Samaritan laws. So if there is no Good Samaritan law, no, you should not be putting yourself in harm's way or vice versa. And my thing is, if that's
shout out to Eugene in the building. Shout out to Eugene. Go on.
And then my thing is too, you don't want people policing other people. You want the cops to do their job. You think about it. If everybody can go, hey, I think you're going to do something wrong, and I'm going to hold you down, at what point is that a problem? That is an issue. That's almost like you trying to prevent something, and I get it, but you can't prevent a crime from happening if you don't even know if something's ever going to happen.
Technically, in New York, if you feel like you're in danger or a threat might be upon you, you have the right to defend yourself. That's number one. Number two, if I put you in a chokehold right now, do you think you could last 3 minutes?
I don't know.
You watch UFC. When somebody put on a rear naked chokehold and they get a full, like they could be tussling whatever because they don't get it locked under. But the minute they get it locked under, what happens within the next few seconds?
They're trying to tap. They don't want to be in it to begin with. But my thing is, think about it. If you could do that with a chokehold,
Listen. You're trying to hijack the I let you talk. I didn't say anything. I let you speak. So basically, if I put you in a chokehold and lock it under there within a less than a minute, you're talking a matter of seconds, you're tapping out, right? And could possibly be unconscious, right? So
Yes.
with that being said, do you honestly believe if he put him in a chokehold with the intent to kill him, that this man would have been lasting for 3 to 15 minutes of putting up a fight with this chokehold? Do you
Think
think
about
he
it.
would be able to put it? Do you think he would be able to put up a fight?
I don't believe so. That's the thing. If somebody got me in a chokehold, after a minute or two, I'm not fighting anymore.
You may
So if that's the
exactly.
case, you got me in a chokehold for 3 to 15 minutes. That means you're trying to subdue me. That means you're trying to put me to sleep, or you're trying to take my life.
Okay, now here's my next questions to you. If a man who was acting crazy whatsoever, like acting crazy, so to speak, seemed like they were off their rockers a bit, said to you, yo, Erica P, word is born. I don't care if I die, whatever the case may be, but I'm going to R you. And you happen to, out of fear for your life, you kick him in the balls or whatever, right? And just from that reaction of you kicking him in the balls, he wound up dying. Should you be held responsible? Should you be getting a manslaughter charge put on you for defending yourself?
For
Because
defending myself, yes, but in all of the narratives that we read, no, Jordan Neely did not put his hands on anybody.
I gotta ask you this: what narratives? Because just recently, a 66-year-old woman who was in that cart that witnessed it. Because what I noticed online was a lot of people who was coming out giving testimonies was people who was in another cart that later came to the cart and put their 2 cents in. Everybody who was in that cart actually riding with him said, yo, we felt like we was threatened. That's why they labeled him as a hero.
But feeling like you're threatened and being attacked or something happening is different. Your feeling could be anything.
But Erica P, when you ride on, I want you to Google homeless people when it comes to train stations. Do you know there's homeless people that when they're on the train station talking crazy like that, they'll sit next to a woman talking crazy. A woman will attempt to get up and the man will literally hold her like, I dare you to get up. See what's going to happen to you. So if you're a New Yorker who's used to being in that environment and somebody is acting belligerent and saying, yo, I don't care if I die, I'm going to kill somebody, the whole nine, and then they're trying to escape. What, like, put it like this.
But you acting like I haven't been on a train before. So that's the issue. Yes, I can feel threatened. Yes, as a passenger, I can get up and move. I can get off the train. I can do that stuff. But I can't physically go attack somebody who has not attacked somebody else.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Hold that thought. I kicked my charger. Give me 2 seconds.
With that being said, can you at least hear me? Oh man, she's gonna catch the L on this one because so far in the chat, let me know who's so far whose side are you taking on this debate? Because nothing Erica P is saying right now to me is swaying me. I don't hear anything that she's saying that's swaying me, so I don't know. Come on, hurry up and fix your mic. Come on. Hello? You said what? You might have to restart the screen. Hopefully we know not to kick the cord out. Can you say say something?
Can you hear me now?
All right, I can hear you. Okay. So let me ask you this. If everybody was so not in agreement that he was a hero, that Daniel Penny wasn't a hero, why in that video nobody was screaming get off of him or anything like that? Nobody was saying nothing as far as yo, get off of him, this, because everybody felt he was a hero and making the environment a safe place.
Like I said, I understand why they did it. I do. I wholeheartedly understand it. But my thing is, if you're trying to help and diffuse the situation, it should not go to left field and that person's life is being taken. And I think that's the biggest thing. You did a chokehold. Guess what? You could have did a bear hug and it would have did something similar because it would have gotten their hands covered.
But Erica,
there were more than enough people that was there with hands in the videos that would have still been able to apply pressure to this person.
Erica P, if somebody broke into your house, right? Significant other came and grabbed the assailant that broke into the house or whatever that was made, or let's just say they walked into your house and was making threats. So your significant other holds this man down in a chokehold or whatever to subdue him. As he's holding him in a chokehold, the man is still moving his arms and kicking and all of this stuff. Because clearly in the video, he was moving his arms. So I'm pretty sure you're going to keep holding on to make sure this person is no longer a threat if they're moving around. So if he has him in a chokehold and he clearly see him moving around and everything like that, he's thinking, this dude is good, especially if he's not applying 100% pressure. He's just looking to subdue him.
Like I said, I get what you're saying. But even with that, though, the scenario is completely different. It's not in a public space. It's my own house, and I have the right to protect myself in my house. When you're out in public, you have to deal with things that go around you.
But you have the right to defend yourself in public if somebody's making terroristic threats like that and you feel like they're in danger.
But you don't have a right to put your hands on people, though. So defending yourself, if this person didn't attack you, didn't touch you, didn't do anything, I could say whatever I really want to say, just as long as I don't touch anybody.
Go on an airplane and say whatever you want to say. And let's see if that logic holds true. Words do have consequences.
I understand words have consequences, but you're telling me his words led to him passing away. Yes, if they felt threatened, there were police on a train. You were in the subway station. You could have called out for help. So you took all of this onto yourself with all of the consequences that come later on.
This is what I will say. If my kid, my significant other, my mother, my brother, sister, whatever was on that cart, and they told me, hey, I felt there was a threat, that dude is a hero to me. Thank you.
And I get it.
Unfortunately, Jordan Neely lost his life, but I'm sorry, dude. This person was a hero. Now, here's the question I have to you. Just with this debate that we're having on this circumstance, can you actually relate this to anywhere near George Floyd's situation?
Not at all. The circumstances were completely different. You're talking about somebody who is subdued by other patrons of the train, who, yes, he may have been trained for combat. You don't know what his job was in the Marine. So yes, they might have went through a brief training or an intensive one. I don't know. But my thing is, what you know is what you know. I don't know if you knew if you were an inch lower, he would have been fine. Those are all speculations. But the George Floyd situation is completely different. You were arresting this person. You're the officer on scene. That is not a normal takedown method. A normal takedown method is not to be on somebody's neck. When you clearly have people around you going, hey, he's telling you he can't breathe. Once he stopped calling for help, you still didn't move. So no, I can't compare these situations at all.
Got you. And one thing I wasn't happy about either was the all the crazy protesting that was going on, holding up trains, this, that, and the third. Like, to me, sometimes these protests are getting out of hand, in my opinion, because if I was a commuter that was going to work, and now I'm missing work because of a protest on a situation like this, where clearly it's not cut and dry that this man was literally looking to kill this guy, I'm going to be pissed off. And these are it's stuff like this that make people build a resentment towards BLM when it comes to protesting, because there's sometimes that BLM protests for the wrong things. Like I remember when BLM came out and was protesting. Don't get me wrong, I understand BLM the movement, and I like the movement and everything, but these protesting for the wrong things. Like for instance, the guy who was in a shootout with police officers in the building for about 2 or 3 hours. Prior to that shootout, this guy was literally shooting in the buildings and actually almost hit his next door neighbor. Heard the kids, they had to hide like in the bathroom, and you literally saw bullet holes and everything. They're protesting outside of the house. This woman is coming home and to see this protest, and is like, yo, that's disrespectful to me and my family. Y'all sitting up here protesting a person who literally almost killed me and my children, and y'all acting like this is a George Floyd type situation or Tatiana Jefferson type situation. So what do you say to that? Do you agree that sometimes BLM protests for the wrong reasons or wrong causes?
I do. I feel like they are going to protest for what they think they should be protesting, or what they think is going to make the biggest news. So unfortunately, sometimes making the biggest news is not always the most accurate circumstance, or without people not always having the complete story up front. You A lot of times you just have to make assumptions until you're proved otherwise.
All right. So with that being said, everybody in the chat, let us know who do you side with more? Do you side with Erica P, or do you side with your boy? Because you believe it's that he's rightfully charged with second-degree manslaughter, or do you think it should be a higher charge? Are you okay with the second-degree manslaughter, or what?
I'm okay with the second-degree manslaughter because it was not his intent to harm this person. But I do feel like because you took the law into your own hands, you do need to be charged with something, because this person is no longer here.
Got you. And for me, I can see the manslaughter charges, but I don't think he should be charged. That's just my opinion. King Refuge said, has there ever been a BLM protest for black on black violence? Here's what I'll say to that. Black BLM, their cause is not for black on black violence. Their cause is for race. I want to say race driven crimes or police brutality. That's their cause. Just like you have different people that protest for against gun violence. Like everybody has their own thing that they protest for. So with that being said, everybody say, hey, how come BLM didn't come out for this, didn't come out for that, or whatever, but they have a specific niche that they stick to. I'm in agreement with saying, hey, if you're gonna protest against death of black people, let it be all across the board. But with that being said, that's not what they protest about or stand behind. So that's what I'll say with that. All right. Did you want to go through the comment section?
Yeah, you can
and see what if there's a comment that needs to be addressed or stand out to you before we move over to the next topic. Come with it.
I'm looking through the comments. I'm looking through them.
All right. Let me see. Spartacus said, there's not a good argument, Erica. You make it
look, I'm okay with that. Look, I am okay with it. Yes, I don't always think the way people want me to think.
Adelio said, I'm telling you right now, if I'm drugged and threatening you, you better get me before I get you. You done if I go first. And some people have that logic. Because think about it. If you never really dealt with a person who is suffering through mental health issues, you might be creeped out depending on how they're acting if you never experienced it. So you could be on the fence like, yo, this person don't have all their marbles. So I'm looking at you as a viable threat where, it could be a big misunderstanding up in here where I could possibly lose my life. I don't know if you got a weapon on you, a knife on you, whatever the case. And if you're off your rocker, and let's face it, people that are off their rocker has superhuman strength. Like, a drunk person, a person who is suffering through mental health. That's why when you see them in them what is it, the medical facilities, it take like 3-4 dudes to hold one person down, man or woman. That superhuman strength is real. So yeah, you never know what you're walking into. Spartacus said the problem is Penny continued the attack after he was subdued. Initial contact and the choke can be justified, but not that. I can give you that. But like I said, the arms kept moving and everything like that. So I think that's why he held on as he did. All right. So now we're going to jump into the second topic, which is, should the GOP back Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis? I always jack his name up, so forgive me on that if I jack his name up once or twice while we doing this live. But okay. So as of right now, we know Trump is facing a myriad of allegations. He recently, just lost a civil suit against Jean Carroll, which he's appealing. He's also gonna probably get an indictment for the voter fraud situation. I don't want to, say the word so YouTube don't flag me or nothing like that. So we'll just say the voter fraud. He also got the stuff in Mar-a-Lago that they're looking into that might come back and bite him in the butt. So it's a multitude of things. Now, I want to play this clip because Bill Barr weighed in on, what Trump is facing and what's the one that he should really look at when it comes to all these, court proceedings that's going to happen. And I'm bringing this up for a reason. We'll get into that, but we're taking baby steps. I'm kind of storytelling right now. So let's check this clip out. Let me play it from the. Where's the
recently released Durham report and the continuing investigations into the former president. CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge spoke with Barr, and she joins us now. And Catherine, this is the first network interview that the former attorney general has done since the Durham report was released Monday. What did he share with you?
Well, thanks, Nicole. Good to be with you. Barr says the Durham investigation was not launched as a criminal probe, and he said that the more than 300 pages show that senior FBI leadership did not adhere to the strictest rules of fidelity and the rule of law. As Attorney General, you launched the special counsel John Durham probe. Critics say the Durham report fell flat. What's your response?
Well, I launched the Durham probe not as a criminal investigation, but to get to the bottom of the whole the genesis of the Russiagate scam. And the people who were criticizing it are the people who perpetuated the big lie of Russiagate and advanced that false narrative, peddled it to the American people, and did immense damage to our country, to our institutions, including the FBI.
There are certainly no charges brought against the senior FBI leadership. So is that what accountability looks like in this case?
I think accountability looks like if people pay attention to the truth. I mean, there was a lot of attention paid by the media to all the little details that they thought implicated Trump in collusion with Russia, all of which were nonsense. And yet we had a 2-year steady diet of this nonsense from the media. Now they should pay attention to the actual facts in the report. And that's what accountability looks like.
I will say this, though, and Erica P., let me know if you agree with me. I will say this. Trump was the most attacked president that was never given like a fair shot since he walked in office. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree with it because I do feel like most of the other presidents were groomed to be presidents, so they followed the same track. I feel like because he was not the norm, everyone came for everything that he did because they, one way or another, didn't believe, one, he became president. Two, it was, you're treating this like a business on one aspect, and you're also ruffling feathers at the same time, where you had to work with people, but then you chose to isolate others. And then for some reason, you just had too many other scandals that are now coming out.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Trump is a racist?
I don't believe he's a racist, but I do feel like he plays the line to ensure that his supporters support him.
Okay. Because I can agree with you on that. I believe because before Trump ran for presidency, you saw Trump in the club with rappers, the whole nine. And I've said many of times, Trump was giving business loans to Black people who couldn't get loans from banks. Trump basically is the type, yo, you ride with me, I ride with you. So when this stuff came out saying that Trump is a racist and everything like that, basically the Black community turned their back on him, whatever. And the way I see it, Trump is a person where it's like, yo, if these are the people that's gonna put me back into power, I'm gonna ride with them. You ride with me, I ride with you. And what's wrong with that? In all honesty, what is wrong with that? If you know these people are gonna have your back, and these other people turn their back on you, which one you gonna go with? That's gonna help you, stay even keel. You're gonna go with the ones that kind of have your back. Do you agree? Disagree?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
And I would rather a person tell me I'm an a-hole to my face than behind my back. But this is what I will say. I can't remember. Maybe I'm off my rocker, so to speak, but I don't remember hearing a president saying, yo, Black people built this country and you're finally starting to get your recognition for it and stuff like that. That's the only president I could recall that said something along those lines. Do you recall any other president saying something along those lines?
No.
Okay. Let's continue with this because I'm getting to a point with these allegations.
Barr also told CBS News he strongly supports Durham's primary recommendation that a new position is created to handle politically sensitive investigations in the future, Nicole.
And I know you also talked to him about some of the investigations that former President Donald Trump is currently facing. Where does he think the most danger lies?
Well, of the more than half dozen investigations, the former attorney general told CBS News, in his view, there is one that stands out. And he said the former president's comments at that recent CNN town hall may have created more legal exposure.
I've said all along that of the cases out there right now, the one I'd be most concerned about if I were the former president is the Mar-a-Lago document case.
And why so?
Because it doesn't go a lot on intent or anything like that. It's very clear that he had no business having those documents. He was given a long time to send them back, and they were subpoenaed. And if there's any games being played there, he's going to be very exposed.
Given the developments in the grand jury, do you believe that special counsel Jack Smith is close to a charging decision?
I would think they'd want to do it before the end of the year. It could be later in the summer or in the fall, would be the earliest I would expect it.
And why that timing?
Well, because if they're close to a decision, I think the process of, reviewing that and socializing it with the attorney general and so forth, and buttoning it up would probably take that long.
In a recent letter to Congress.
Okay. Now, with that being said, right, we all understand that, he shouldn't have had those documents and everything like that or whatever, but selfish as it may be, I don't want him to get charged. I don't want him to face any charges so that this man can run for presidency again.
I was about to say that's usually what happens if he doesn't get charged, that means he has a clean slate. That
But
means
my question though is, do you want him to get charged if he's guilty of whatever it is? Do
that's
you
the
want him to
thing.
get charged?
If you are guilty of doing something, then there has to be some kind of punishment. So then yes, if you had, let's say you had 6 months to hand them in and you chose to hand them in a year later, there's going to be a consequence. So if people treat their children on the lines of, hey, this is what I want you to do, and these are the consequences if you don't, you can't light foot a former president just because my thing is, who do you hold accountable for that? If you're not being held accountable for releasing those, then someone on your staff needs to be held accountable. Whoever's job it was to make sure the stuff was handed over in proper timing needs to be the one held accountable. So if he is found guilty, then yes, there has to be a charge. If he is not found guilty, okay, fine. Figure out who is guilty of it not being handled so that they could get the consequence.
Call me selfish, Erica, but I don't want Trump to get charged for a very selfish reason. And that selfish reason, ladies and gentlemen, is because if Trump is charged and can't run, I believe the next strong candidate who will represent the Republican Party will be Ron DeSantis. And a lot of this guy's policies and everything like that, I do not agree with at all. The way I view Ron DeSantis is the man is trying to eradicate Black history with all the stuff that he's doing in Florida. At least I know Trump is going to do stuff for the Black community. He made the opportunity zone. What is the opportunity zone? Investors can invest in impoverished areas, putting businesses and stuff like that. Now, people in the Black community is like, well, the investors who came and put these properties or businesses there, they didn't hire the folks around here. That's on you. Y'all put your foot down. Yo, if you're going to have a business here, you got to hire people in this community. If not, we are not shopping here. That business is doomed to fail. So that's on the people of the community if they don't act on that. He still funded HSBC BCUs. He still did that. He still lowered sentences, which is something that a lot of presidents do, but he even lowered it more significant. Now, I get it. Can't do the crime. Can't do the time. Shouldn't have caught the cases. I get it 100%. But you got some people who are on there for bogus charges like weed or something like that and got these erroneous years, sentences and everything like that. So the man has shown a track record of doing stuff, for the Black community. I'm sorry, but Ron DeSantis, a lot of stuff this guy is doing, to me, I feel is trying to eradicate Black history, which we're going to get into detail later in the live, but that's how I view it. Case in point. Let me share the screen with everybody. This is just one of the many things that is happening under his watch. Right here. Everybody knows Rosa Parks in history. The reason why, she got arrested, whatever, because she wouldn't give her seat. Now, when you think of Rosa Parks, right, the main thing that you think about is that this was a Black woman who, in the time, during the civil rights and movement and everything going on like that, whites had superiority over Blacks. That's just how it was. It is what it is. And the reason why Rosa Parks is famous is because she put her foot down and said, yo, I'm not getting up off the bus or whatever. So in history, it says the initial version of the text in that lesson group said right here, the law said African Americans had to give up their seats on the bus if a white person wanted to sit down. But in an earlier version created by the Florida's Review by Studio Weekly, the lesson changed to she was told to move to a different seat because of her color. Okay, that's cool. In the group's second updated version, race is removed completely from the lesson, saying she was told to move to a different seat. If it just says she was moved to a different seat, why would that be important in history?
It wouldn't, and that's the problem. They're
And
trying to eliminate that.
and here's another thing. Study Weekly also made changes to their fourth grade lesson book of segregation. The initial initial version, the text explained how Black Americans were affected by Jim Crow laws that arose after the Civil War. But like its update to the Parks lesson, the second version eliminated almost every direct mention of race. Instead, the lessons were changed to say it was illegal for men of certain groups to be unemployed, and the certain groups of people were not allowed to serve on the jury. So that's why I don't agree with DeSantis policies, so to speak, and the things that he's doing. Don't get me wrong, there's things in Florida that he did that are phenomenal, but when I look at that dynamic, to me, I'm like, that just doesn't do it for me. So he wouldn't get my vote. I would more than happily give Trump my vote as opposed to DeSantis.
Correct. But now I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that too. He's not the only one doing it. So, and that's another thing. It's like, hey, if people are really having issues with these books, they need to take it up with the people that are creating these laws. They need to take it up with the people that are doing the edits to these books. You're talking, it's happening in Florida, it's happening in Texas, it's happening in New Jersey. What do you think is going to happen? Once it already makes its appearance, it's going to trickle down to the rest of the 50 states. Unless people start standing up about it.
Hold that thought. Eugene said something phenomenal. He did say DeSantis plus is that he stopped lockdowns early and bucked the trend of Fauciism. Courage. That I agree, because I remember I made a What's the News video on the channel, and I was like, yo, if they start making vaccine mandates where you got to have this paperwork, guess where I'm moving? To Florida. So that's a good gem, Eugene. That's definitely a good gem. I can't front on that. Like I said, there's things that he did that I agree with, but that just is like, that just gnaws at me where I'm like, yeah. But you're right, Erica P. There's other people that do it, but this is a person who's running for the presidency. So that's where the difference lies. Because like I said, man, regardless whatever the stumbling blocks there is, I never believed in this theory of, the white man is holding me down, so to speak. I don't believe in it. Are there more hurdles? Yes, I believe there's more hurdles on this track meet. But do I believe that the white man is holding me down? Absolutely not. Not at all. What is your take?
Yeah, you have to think about it. It's all a game. Politics is a game. You have to figure out what your odds are and who's going to support you. So yes, you are going to put the policies in place to guarantee your support by certain groups of people. So if you feel like, hey, I already don't have the African American or Black vote, why am I doing anything to protect them? You're going to do all of the things for the people that are protecting you.
I agree. But yeah. So if you had to pick between these two candidates, in your opinion, Trump or DeSantis, which one are you going with?
I'm gonna tell you how I might have to pick the devil I know, which is Trump.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I gotta pick the devil that I know. So you're absolutely freaking right. You hit the nail. You have no quarrels with me there. Like, yo, you have no quarrels with me there. Go ahead, continue.
I was about to say, at least I know what his policies are. I know what he stands for. There's proven records of what he's done for everybody. So yes, I could look at that. I can look at the political stance of DeSantis, but think about it. I don't know what your proven record is other than in Florida.
Got you.
With Trump being a former president, I know what he did as a whole. And he wanted to protect the U.S. He wanted to bring back, certain jobs that were outsourced. Yeah. So if you have that kind of track record, I have to back you.
I'm sorry, man. an acorn could run against Biden and the acorn will win. That's just how I feel. Like, that's just how I feel right now. Like, yo, it is what it is. So whoever comes out, I believe in the Republican Party, they're going to win. They're going to be the next president. That's how I feel about it. All right. So the next topic at hand, this one is going to be bananas. Marjorie Taylor compared the term white supremacist to the N-word. Now, I want to get people's take on this because I mean, I have my point of view, but like I said, I want to hear other people's point of view also to see what they take on it, because I can understand it from a aspect of her saying, yo, I feel is disrespectful, but let's listen to what she said before we get into it. So if for those of you who didn't see what she said, here's that clip.
Was not enough. I was swarmed. It's all on video. Everyone can see this. But I will tell you what's on video is Jamal Bowman shouting at the top of his lungs, cursing, calling me a calling me a white supremacist, which I take great offense to. That is like calling a person of color the N-word, which should never happen. Calling me a white supremacist is equal to that, and that is wrong.
Now, one of her I want to say compatriots, or I know I'm jacking up the word, by the name of Hakeem Jeffries, who's a minority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives, basically a congressman. He heard her comments, and this is what this gentleman had to say about what she said.
Ask you a quick question. Sure. So this morning, Marjorie Taylor Greene said that when folks like Jamal Bowman call her a white supremacist, it's like calling a person of color the N-word. And in the same breath, she said that Jamal Bowman's physical mannerisms are aggressive, and she felt threatened by him. What are your remarks?
Marjorie Taylor Greene is a complete and total embarrassment to the United States Congress, to the district that she represents, and to the people of Georgia. Her words and her actions speak for themselves.
Okay. I want to give my take on this, Erica P, before you give your take on this. Now, I understand her dynamic of saying to her, that's what it feels like and everything like that. And I could respect it 100%. If that's how it make you feel, then I'll make it my duty not to call her that, because for her, she feel like that's disrespectful. So if anything somebody say feels like it's disrespectful to you, then take it out of your lexicon. That's how I see it. But I cannot compare it to the N-word, because just the dynamics of a white supremacist and the N-word. People use the N-word. I'm one of the people that don't use the N-word. And I understand the dynamic of Black people saying, yo, we took a word that meant us to be wretched and less than, and we flipped it to a term of endearment, and a group of people can't use the word. If that's not the biggest power flex, I don't know what it is. So I get that dynamic of it. But I'm like, at the same time, you're using it in your music, all of this stuff, and then you want those same people who you don't want using the word to actually buy your music, sing your lyrics, but they can't use the word. That doesn't make sense at all. So either you're in or you're out. That's how I feel about it. So with that being said, I cannot compare a white supremacist to the N-word. And I'm going to just put it as the N-word, hard ER or hard A. Because if a person is racist and they're using it hard ER or A, it's the same thing in my book that they're trying to say because they want to offend you. A white supremacist has never been enslaved. A white supremacist has never been, attacked because of the race of their color. White supremacists never had crosses burned on their lawn. A white supremacist never been lynched. A white supremacist has never been in law enforcement, and even the citizens of the other counterpart still have authority over you. It's a lot that goes into it. You get what I'm saying? So
What do
that's
you
why
mean?
I'm like,
Okay, so this is the thing though. White supremacists can be anywhere. They can be everywhere because they can blend in. Now, what I will say is you have to also look at her voting records, the way that she usually sways. She is a Georgia Southern woman who has strong ties to that community, who voting record wise is usually for some of these groups. So if you're being called that and you're voting towards that, that to me may be a little more accurate than you want it to be. She's a far right conspiracy because she utilizes those
yeah,
things. She promotes
yeah.
it. She promotes anti-Semitic things. She promotes, you know, genocide theories. So if these are the things that you've promoted over your tenure since you've been elected, I have to think that you may be leaning towards that side a little more than someone who doesn't always vote towards that direction. Now,
Gotcha.
yes, you're a Republican. You were a strong supporter of the former president, Donald Trump. That stuff doesn't matter to me because guess what? The president being supported by somebody that's in their party, I'll take that. But when you start promoting Russian propaganda, you start praising Vladimir Putin and some of your things that you're talking about, yeah, that's a problem. You also identify as a Christian nationalist. You don't want to always bring religion into things, but guess what? That goes on based off of your character. That goes based off of the way you think. So yeah.
Like, and this is what I will say. Like the thing that you said that definitely stood out to me was, as a white supremacist, like regardless, you blend in. There is no blending in with my skin color.
Okay.
And the thing, and the other thing about that too is, and I see Mal's in the comment section. I see Maladjusteds in the comment sections. What up, Mal? I understand that you had white people who are ostracized because they interacted with blacks and everything like that. But what I will say is those were choices. You had that option to not do it and you wouldn't get ostracized. There is no option of hiding the black skin in those times. You would just get ostracized, and that's what it was. Even when you look at like the Holocaust, again, it's well documented that once they took their yarmulke off and all of this, that they blended in to escape genocide. There is no hiding your skin, this skin. If you look at me, you can't tell my race. I mean, you can't tell my religion. You can't tell my age. You can't tell a lot of things. But one thing you can tell is this color.
Yeah.
There's no hiding it. You can tell that. So just think about that. All right. Let me see. Because I blending in when you go to that place, but the reverence is also true. Very true, which is something that we're gonna get into later in the show, because I think that's gonna be interesting topic that we get into later in the show when we get into that or whatever. But okay. Any comment that stood out to you that you want to address before we move to the next topic?
Yeah, that's what I'm scrolling up now trying to see.
All right. If one cup stand out to you, let me know. And I'm gonna segue into the next topic, which is, will this Florida bill pin Black Americans and Asians against one another? And again, this all tracks down to what's going on in Florida. Apparently Florida passed a bill for AAPI, which stands for Asian American Pacific Islanders history to be taught in school. And this is the same place where they don't want anything Black history taught in school, because they're saying, they don't want no race being taught, blah, blah, blah. But this is something that's being taught in school. And the thing that's mind-boggling to me about, we don't want to teach no history in school or anything like that, is because everything you do in life is based on your history. You go to the doctor, what do? They pull up your history of your medical records. You try and go get a bank loan, what do? Pull your history for your credit score. You go for a job, what do? They pull up your history for your work experience. Everything in life is based on your work history. If you got arrested by the cops, you're in court. What do? They look for your history. So that's why I don't understand the notion where it's like, hey, don't teach anything Black history and keep away from it, whatever the case may be. And that's that. And when I'm saying teach Black history, I get it, because you have a lot of you know what? Let me not even get into that yet, because the bottom line is, we're speaking about, will this Florida bill pin Black Americans and Asians against each other? So we want to tackle this first. But this Asian person broke it down like lovely on what they believe is going on in Florida. So let me play the video and we'll go from there.
This is not a good thing, y'all. What this actually is part of a strategy to propagate white, cis, het dominant culture. And I'm gonna need my fellow Asians to witness what this is for what it actually is. It is leveraging the model minority myth, one of white dominant culture's favorite weapons. So much so that they created it specifically to drive a wedge between Black and Asian communities. Why do you think the very man who is suppressing the teaching of Black history and the rights of queer and trans folks is suddenly promoting the teaching of Asian American history? Think about it for a minute, and also think about what kind of Asian history is actually going to be covered. We know it's not going to cover the friendship and movement work of Malcolm X and Yuri Kochiyama. We know they're not going to talk about Grace Lee Boggs, the Third World Liberation Front, or many of the other ways that Black and Asian communities have come up in solidarity in resistance against white dominant culture. And they're definitely not going to talk about all of the global Asian movements that rose up against authoritarianism and white dominant culture colonialism. I mean, you can imagine how they're going to cover Vietnam, the Korean War. They're certainly not going to talk about the U.S.'s historic role in the oppression of Hawaii or the U.S.'s history in Laos. What the history will probably cover is anti-Chinese sentiment, forced ally governments, white savior narratives, and the suppression of the immense history of Asian, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander resistance. All of this is simply to further fragment people of the global majority, because by doing so, he and others like him that are doing so now in many different states are able to further white dominant cishet culture. So my fellow Asians, do not align yourself with white dominant culture, because it will be our downfall. And do not allow our community to be used as a wedge again, but instead let's remember and learn from our true histories of resistance against white dominant culture and colonialism. So he's going to allow the teaching of Asian American history? Well, my fellow Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacifica folks, let's show them our history by making history.
Now, the reason why I wanted to play that is because it's basically to bring awareness, because people will take this and be like, oh my God, the Asian community is asking for this, and blah, 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 all of this stuff. And it's like, no, that's not what the outcry is. The way this Asian person is perceiving it is, it's another tactic to, okay. The way Black people think is, a lot of things get put into place to put them more down the rung, like bring them down to the lowest rung, so to speak. So what I don't want to happen is to pin Asians against Blacks for something that they have absolutely no control over. This wasn't something that Asians were asking for. That's basically what this person is presenting in this diatribe, so to speak. And I just see it as another tactic for dividing. And if it ain't race, it's politics. If it ain't this, it's well, I'm getting my special place here. Why can't I get my special place here? This, that, and the third. My thing is, in Florida, if you're saying you're not going to teach anything race, then just keep it on equal playing fields. Because when you start giving special privileges to this person, to this group, and not that group, I think that's where the divide and the resentment start coming into play. So it's like, yo, don't fall for the games that these politicians are playing of trying to give special privileges to this group so that this group feel like they're left out of sync and all of this stuff. Nah, don't play into these games. And that is exactly why I played what this Asian person had to say, because it's like, yo, we don't agree with this. This is propaganda to make you guys feel ostracized, and that is not what's going on. There's no reason for us to be going eye to eye against each other.
Yes, I wholeheartedly get it. I guess my biggest thing is I have kids that are school age. How about we just start teaching multiculturalism? Because guess what?
Mm-hmm.
America is a melting pot. So why can't the kids just learn about everybody? It'd be a lot easier and people would be a lot more informed.
Yeah. My thing is, the reason why you learn history is so that it doesn't repeat itself.
Correct. And if you're
But
eliminating
if
teaching these kids that,
the
guess what
history,
happens? It's going
then
to
it
keep
can
repeating.
repeat. It can repeat itself. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to avoid. And this is what I was getting into before, where I said, you know what, let's talk about this first. The thing is, you don't even have to go into history and talk about slavery and all this stuff. Just talk about people of different cultures that were actually doing good things. Case in point, I want to play this video for you, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of the stuff that this person was saying, I was like, wait, what? I didn't even know this. I did not know this. So these are ways that you could talk about Black history in a way that it's not going to offend anybody, or it's going to make people feel like, oh man, my history was this, or whatever the case may be. So if my ancestors were part of, slave owners, or if my ancestors lived on a plantation and were slaves, yada yada, you can actually teach Black history without even putting in any of the negatives. And this is a prime example right here.
No, absolutely. We'll get smart enough. We're already seeing the pushback now in a lot of ways. A lot of this focuses on what we've done at education. Why didn't we have these fights 30 years ago? And the answer is we knew too much about our own history. I mean, I just pulled some things. Rob, I'm surrounded with 160,000 pieces of original history from Columbus all the way through landing on the moon. And so a lot of that relates to Black history that we no longer teach. If you happen to be in Indiana, you're in the Hoosier state. Where'd you get that name? A Black evangelist named Harry Hoosier in the Second Great Awakening. His converts went there. How many people who live in Indiana know that they're named after a Black evangelist? Probably very few. How many know that the guy who brought an end to the American War for Independence, according to Lafayette, is a Black double spy named James Armistead, who brought the war to an end? Without that, it might have gone much longer. Who knows that so many of the heroes we had in military battles, like the Battle of Bunker Hill, was a Black hero named Peter Salem, another one named Salem. We just don't know that anymore. Amazing. We don't know the first Black man to receive a degree of higher education in America, which, by the way, was a soldier under George Washington, was a Minuteman in Massachusetts. There's so many things that go back.
That's amazing.
Even just one more example.
Is amazing.
That's a piece of currency from 1880. It is signed right down here at the bottom by Blanche Kelso Bruce. And Blanche Kelso Bruce is the first Black man to serve a full term in the U.S. Senate. He's the first Black man to be nominated for Vice President of the United States back in 1880. No major party did it until 1880. Who hears about him? That currency signed by a Black person in 1880, that he was nominated for Vice President? We don't hear that today.
That's amazing. You don't hear that? You don't hear any of that. And our education is terrible in this country.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal if you ask me. These are histories that can be in the history books Because here's the thing. I understand, like, we don't want to give special privileges to different, but to different sectors or different groups of people. But when it comes to history as a whole, why not just keep it real with the history that's going on? And the thing is, as a child, if everything in history points to you're less than, you're gonna, like, some people adapt that mentality of I'm less than, so to speak. It becomes becomes ingratiated in your mind that, yo, I'm less than, so to speak. So if you have the opportunity to learn, like, yo, I don't know, I want to be the next president, like Obama or hate Obama, it give a child something like a symbol to look at, like, okay, wow, that was achieved by somebody that looks like me. You know what? I'm gonna aspire to do XYZ. Representation matters. That's why when you speak about these things in history, it matters for those who are looking for those that look like them to have somebody to look up to or to aspire to achieve greatness or walk in their shadow. Now I get it. People are like, yo, your parents are the person that you should look up to, this, that, and the third. Yeah, but we still also have celebrities or whatever the case may be that we look up to aspire, because that person happens to be in the things that we're interested in.
But think about it. The way that you keep a class of people down is by not giving them their history. So if you start eliminating the history when they're supposed to be learning it, guess what happens? When are they going to find out about it? Not until they become older. Because think about it. The easiest thing to do is hide information in a book and not tell them what book it's in, or not give them access to that book. Because that's the biggest way of people getting ideology from everywhere else, instead of being taught, hey, your history matters. Your presence matters as well. Because think about it, I'm not just saying it needs to be Black history. Yes, do I want it to be a representation of a good batch of people? I do. Because I can't say everybody in one school is going to appreciate Black history or be able to understand it. They may not even want to learn it. But you could give me a couple of days. You give me a couple of pages. I want that for everybody. I want Asian Americans to be able to do it, and Hispanic Americans, because think about it. You got a Heritage Month for every heritage. But guess what? Nobody teaches it any place other than going, hey, look on the calendar and see when Irish Heritage Month is. Every month has something. So why we can't just teach a little bit during those months? You get a calendar. I could download it. I know there's ice cream days. So if there's a national day for ice cream and you got national months for different heritage, why you can't just make that part of the lessons that's going on?
Okay. I'm glad. And I agree with you 100% on what you said too, Erica P. My thing is, instead of making it a month of this, a month of that, just make everything all inclusive in history. If this person was Hispanic that played an intricate part in history, put him in the history book. If this person was Polish and played a intricate part of history, put him in the history book. Black, white, whatever, if they played an intricate role, put him in the history book.
Especially if it's during the eras that you're looking at. Think about it. When you're in school, you learn world history. So if I got to learn about Greece and Rome and Athens, why can't I learn about the history right here? You have maybe a year or two in elementary school where American history is in the curriculum. So how about maybe I just want to learn about all of the American history that was great during that era, or maybe some that wasn't that great but was integral parts to making changes.
Now, I just want to react to a comment that John Montana made, and I'm going to get back to this comment that Linda made. John Montana said, "Why do you think the left are removing statues to hide history, remove discourse?" No, I don't think that's why they're removing statues. It's statues to hide history. It's two reasons. Number one, those statues represent a time that basically was very hateful and made a group of people basically tell them that they're less than. And everybody liked to turn to Abraham Lincoln, was like did the best thing for black people, this, that, and the third. But if he could have signed the Emancipation Proclamation without freeing the blacks, he would have done it. And he even said in his speech that he don't think that black people are on the same level of white people, so to speak. I'm paraphrasing, but in a gist, that's what I got from it. So that's number one. It signifies a time of, put it like this. If you have your spouse, right? She cheated on you with a dude or whatever, and let's just say she keep the condom wrapper hung up freaking in your house, or you get what I'm saying? Like something. Do you want to look at that every day? Absolutely not. You don't want to be remembered of that time that was painful or whatever to you. You want to remove it out of your presence. So they want to remove those statues for that reason. And number two, the second reason is, why are we putting up monuments of losers? No matter how I understand these people played an intricate role in whatever the South's history and stuff like that, but where in history have we ever celebrated losers? There's the greatest country in the world, America. We only support winning. We represent winning. So why are we representing losers? That's where I stand on that aspect, and I hope that answers your question in the mind of a Black American. I wanted to get to this comment. How are people going to react when they say the Messiah is Black, the Bible is Black history? I am so happy she said this comment, because that makes playing this next video that much, like it's that much integrated into the show. I want to play this video, and this is why inclusion is so important, and whitewashing history is like, it's crazy. Check this out, and then I'll get into it.
For hundreds of years, we've been telling you, and now you have to keep in mind that we took away any other God that you might have through force, through fear, through pain. So now I'm going to give you a God, but I'm going to do that in a way that it's going to further me. So I'm going to give you a God that looks like me, so that when you bow down to that God, you're bowing down to me. The Bible tells us what he's going to look like when he comes back. We have taken that and changed it. Do you remember when Jesus went to Egypt? He hid in Egypt. The people in Egypt, honey, they're not white people. How could he hide that? See, so that we've done that.
Now, not to toot my own horn, but the crazy thing is, I made a YouTube video 2 years ago, and I said the same exact thing. Here's that clip. Which makes me think, if Jesus was white and he was born in Bethlehem, lived in Nazareth, and then went to Egypt to seek refuge, if he was white, wouldn't he stick out like a sore thumb? Something to think about. So, yeah. So, not to toot my own horn, but I had that same thought process. Now, this is what I was getting at, whatever, with history, with inclusion, whatever. It is very important that inclusion is in there, because once you start whitewashing history, it's gonna not give any, like, not to say it doesn't give somebody stuff to believe in, but when somebody is breaking something down to us and explaining something to us, no matter how much it was handed down to us, the knowledge was handed down to us from generation to generation, the main thing a person look for is, where's the source? Where is it in a book? I need to see this in a book. And this is the case in point that I'm making. When Black Wall Street was destroyed, within a month later, everything was getting redacted because they found out that the woman they thought who was allegedly Ard came out and said, yo, that's not what happened, whatever, it was a misunderstanding, yada yada. So it went into cover story, redacting everything, hiding. The only reason why the story became the surface is because those who were in that time started chronicalizing the story to the point that they couldn't hide it anymore. But when you was looking at records and stuff like that, everything was redacted. So that's why inclusion, keeping history, and all of this stuff is very important. Very important. And I'm glad that this woman said it, because if I was to say it or you was to say it or something like that, people would be like, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. But this is coming, I guess you could say, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So what's your take on it, Erica P, before I go into the next segment, which I'll get into that later. But that's going to be the last segment of this evening's live.
Well, and I was going to say something pretty similar. When you start not chronologizing stuff, yes, you're right. History, one, repeats itself. Two, the next generation is not going to understand, because once the older generation stop reading those stories or stop telling them those stories, guess what? The history dies along with them. And I think that's the biggest thing, at least for certain cultures. And I'm not saying it's always Black history culture, because it's not just Black history that got erased. Think about any war that you've read about. Once the war was over, they destroyed whatever was there previously. So that means all of the ideas were changed. It became whatever the new ruler was at the time. So if that's the case, why do you think most of these cultures are intertwined and mingled together? Because at one part or another, somebody took over something, changed the history up a little bit, but everybody's connected. So why can't we just have where everybody's connected?
Okay. I just want to answer Mal's question, because he said, what about blackwashing and who fired the first shots, Wally? I'm not denying that the Black people went over and was trying to get the individual back because they thought he was wrongfully accused, whatever. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is everything that transpired, chronicleize everything. Don't then go and redact what you did of burning down the city. And even if you rightfully burnt down the city, whatever, because they threw the first punch or shot first. If you wholeheartedly felt that they shot first and you was justified in your actions, why would you need to redact it? I'm just talking from a common sense logic perspective. If you came up to me and punched me in my face or whatever the case may be, and now I retaliate and beat you down and hospitalize you, if I felt like I was justified for what I did, why am I going to lie about what I did? I'm going to keep it 100 and say, yo, you came, you did what you did, I burnt your ish down, and that's that. Now live with it. But when you go into redacting it, that tells me there's some funny business going on in between, because you shouldn't need to redact if what you did was justified. You did a clapback that was 100% justified in your actions. So that makes me question the history that's being told in a lot of cases when it comes to situations like this, or when it comes to Black history or whitewashing history. Because let's face it. Miles said, what about blackwashing? What I'm seeing right now is a lot of whitewashing going on with trying to eliminate Black history, period, from these books. So I can't really speak on blackwashing, because what I'm seeing is whitewashing going on in schools and all of this stuff. So that's what I can speak on. I can only speak on what I see, what's going on around me. So, yeah.
All right, he got one more comment that popped up too. It says, but was it one-sided that was trying to be redacted? I don't think it was just the one-sided trying to be redacted. What I feel is they tried to erase it from history completely. So it's, hey, if we destroy all of the printed articles that were there, that means it never happened. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's not the fact of just the redaction or trying to whitewash history. You're trying to tell me the history didn't happen. And I think that's the bigger problem. It's, if it happened, it happened. You have to take both sides of the story. If you're not going to take both sides of the story, you can't just go and delete it.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. And I'm going to drop the link in the comment section too for people to call in. And I hope Mal definitely call in, because this next video, I don't want people to look at it as I'm trying to be offensive or anything like that. Like, when I saw this video, the first thing that came to my mind was, is this guy really speaking the truth, or is he looking for clicks and likes? That's what came to mind. So I really want the perspective of a white person to say, yo, what this guy's saying, does it have truth in it, or he's just blowing smoke up everybody's, ASS? That's what I honestly want to know. So we're going to watch this clip or whatever, and from there, we're going to drop the link in the comments so people could call in if they want to give their opinion or whatever the case may be. If not, then it is what it is. We'll call it a night, whatever. But maladjust, if you call in or not, I'm going to still pick your brain on it, once we connect, because like I'm genuinely asking, because I feel as though we all of this can be nipped in the bud with this racist talk and all of this stuff if it's just, racism happened. That was my ancestors, or whatever the case may be. That has nothing to do with me. That has blase blah. Like, it's just the acceptance of, this happened. How do we move on from here? Because when it's being denied that it didn't happen, or it's like, yeah, but this, yeah, but that, yeah, but it makes individuals feel like you're not willing to really sit at the table so we can find a happy medium. It's like it comes off as trying to find an excuse of not sitting at the table, so to speak. When I play the video, it'll clarify what I'm trying to say a lot more. And I genuinely want to pick somebody's brain or people's brains to be like, yo, explain this to me. Is this person really making a point? So here it is.
I hate to say it, but white folks are largely professional gaslighters when it comes to race. We are professional liars when it comes to race. It's part of white supremacy and how it functions and how it works. From the very first African that was enslaved, we have been gaslighting black folks as white people. That's our culture. That's our tradition. That's our indoctrination. And that's what we do. And that's what we do best. We lie every single day. And we lie to black people. We lie to each other. We lie to ourselves about race. We gaslight. Gaslight, if you don't know, it's a psychological term. It's where the abuser tells the victim that this reality of you being abused is not really happening. It's just something in your imagination. You're being paranoid. You're being too sensitive. All this abuse is not real. And if it is real, it's only because you deserved it. I was trying to help you. It's justified somehow. We have always justified our racism. And if we're not justifying it, we're denying it. If we're not denying it, then we're deflecting it. The last thing white people would do is simply acknowledge the truth racially. That's why I say we're bullshit artists. We are professional fucking liars and gaslighters. That's exactly what we do as white people, and that's the fucking truth. And if you deny it, you're a fucking liar. 90% of white people today, right now in America, no matter how young or how old, we've been so profoundly indoctrinated that we cannot simply acknowledge the truth racially. Can't do it. And if we do it, there's a but or a deflection. Can't do it. 90% of us will not do it. So this is why we are gaslighting academically. This is why Black history all around America right now is being criminalized. That tradition of gaslighting, that tradition of hiding, that tradition of pretending racism's not real is their educational system. And they want to protect that tradition. They do not want the truth to be out. People know that the hope is with the younger generation. Isn't that what they always say? I hope the younger people, I hope the next generation will do better. They know that if the truth ever gets taught racially, that's why CRT is banned. That's why if you talk about race, it's banned. All around America, states, counties, schools, teachers, threat of arrest, Black stories, beautiful Black books, banned, erased, censored, libraries empty, criminalization of Black history, folks. Because why? Because white people are racist. White people are all about denying. White people are all about gaslighting. That's our tradition. Deny, deflect, never teach the truth, never acknowledge the truth. Because if we do, if we teach the truth, what will happen? White supremacy could be threatened. Economic advantages for white people, the dominant position could be threatened. They're threatened. Like all bullies are threatened. They're threatened by their victims. So of course they don't want the truth to be taught. So what do? They keep it whitewashed. They keep the lies perpetrating, the narratives, the whitewashing. Pretend George Washington, Andrew Jackson were heroes as they owned hundreds of slaves.
Ron DeSantis in Florida, he sent teachers to a civics class. And they were teaching that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were anti-slavery.
Ron DeSantis has the idea. Let's put it that way.
But they did own slaves.
Well,
I'm sorry.
They did own slaves, but they knew that,
honestly, things were different back then.
But do you think that it should be taught that they didn't support slavery?
Correct. And that's what the
You're saying they did not support slavery.
They did not. That's why
But they owned slaves.
They owned slaves.
Keep pretending, keep denying, keep whitewashing. Let's not learn about Black heroes. Let's not learn about Black stories. Let's not learn about Black history. Let's not learn about Black contributions. Why? Because that would be the truth. And that's not our tradition. We're supposed to promote whiteness. That's how white nationalism works. They pretend that, we're innocent. We're trying to protect the sensitivity of our white children. No, you're not. You're trying to keep white supremacy and your privilege alive. You want to be on top the same way that your parents wanted to be on top and their parents wanted to be on top. That's how white supremacy works. It's a power thing. The idea of dismantling white supremacy cannot happen until we can teach our children the truth.
Now, I just want to reference this by saying that what this gentleman said about, all white people this, all white people that, I strongly do not believe that, and I do not agree with that. And I know people say it's the cliche thing to say, my white friend this, no. What I will say is when it came to a lot of opportunities for me, I had opportunities given to me more by white people as opposed to my own kind. So I know for a fact I do not wholeheartedly believe with what he's saying as far as all white people this. But the question I do have to ask is, do white people do white people deny the fact that Black people actually do go through hard times in America, that there is systemic racism, systemic things that Black people basically say, this impedes me. Like they literally just came out with an article where it said blacks are the most audited when it comes to income tax. They're the most audited out of any other race. So when you see these type of things, when you see these systemic things happen, and then people turn around to you and say, hey, that's not happening. Times is all good. Does that you get what I'm saying? Like, do white people like deny as a form of deflection? And I'm honestly asking this question. I'm not trying to be a smart ass or nothing like that. No, I'm honestly asking this question. Let me drop the link. So whoever wanna, join the conversation, I'm on in. Because I would love to be educated. Because like I was like, and Erica, I'm pretty sure you would like to know too.
Sure.
So, but how do you feel about what he said in the meantime?
The problem that I have what he says is it's generalized. And you can't generalize a whole class of people. I feel like he picked the most thing in my head. I think he did it for clickbait. I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like he did it for clickbait. He chose some of the broadest topics, left them too out there, didn't have anything really specific, couldn't really prove one way or another of what he was saying. So yeah, I have problems with most of what he said. But on the opposite end, I have to look at what I was taught growing up. There were not many representations of me in the books that I read. So it almost makes me question, why is there no representation? What happened? You can't tell me that there's no contribution whatsoever. And I don't want to wait until you have to think about it. A lot of this stuff I didn't get a really good Black history lesson even in college. It was like 3 pages in the back of the book. And we didn't even get that far. So it's like, I don't know. The only way that I would have been able to learn anything Black history is going to be taking an African American studies course. And guess what? That's not even a textbook. That's pulling different books off of a shelf and reading different excerpts. So I don't know.
And here's I'll let Mal, I'll let you in a sec. Dang, I just lost train of thought what I was gonna say, whatever. It was, oh man. It'll come back to me. You were saying representation. It'll come back to me. Damn it, I lost it that quick. But yeah, again, the question is like, I know he was speaking broad statements and everything like that, but I guess the question is the whitewashing like that deep that it basically tried to hide, a whole group of people's history, so to speak? Like, do you feel like that has some steam, like it has some legs to it? Mal, what's going on, brother?
Everybody, I missed you always, my man.
I know. I miss you too, brother.
How's my Miss Erica?
I am doing good over here. How are you?
Now, you know what? When we was having this live and I saw you in the comment section, I was like, I gotta see Mal's point. I gotta see what Mal's saying. But like, I love having these conversations because at the end of the day, it's about bridging the gap, bringing understanding.
Right, and that's what we've always worked hard to do.
Exactly. So yeah, break it down, educate us, brother.
All right, so we're gonna have to slide through a bunch of stuff because we got
okay.
So let's start with the white supremacist bit and comparing it to the N-word. Here's the problem. is when we use this term white supremacist. When these people are using it, what are they implying? Right? It's the implication. It's the same idea with the N-word. When you walk up to me and say, "Nah, my," enter word here, you're not implying anything other than a term of endearment, right?
Yeah.
So usage is always important for the matter of a word. And I use Ned Flanders from Simpsons as a good example. He's never used a word we would consider a cuss word, and yet we've heard him swear.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's the cause, not the verbiage itself. The whitewashing bit. Oh, wow. So here's the problem with history.
Let me ask you this real quick, because like I said, I've never heard of you can go into what you're saying, but I've never heard of the blackwashing thing. So could you educate me on that?
Netflix Cleopatra. You brought up Jesus. Well, here's the thing. Jesus didn't look nothing like me, but guess what? He didn't look nothing like you neither. How about what it was about 2016 till now? The "we was kings" shit.
Hold on, let me read the super chat by Harry. So I've climbed trees for a living, and I've also been a bank manager. I don't give two turds what race you are. No one care about race. It's who you are and can get the job done. That is true. But the thing is, race will always be prevalent, and we have these conversations to try and help bridge that gap. That's all it is.
Race will only be prevalent as long as we're fighting over these things, right? And so you know me, I swing all over the place with these conversations. So you might have to slap me to get me back on the straight.
No problem. I know you was going to get into whitewashing, but okay, go ahead.
Well, when we get into the blackwashing concept, it's history by perspective, right? In that if I grew up in a predominantly African neighborhood where all the families, all my neighbors, all my friends were African, I'm going to have an African bias when looking at anything. I'm going to look at it from the point of being an African.
That's true. Very true.
Right? So everybody does it. What that Asian lady was doing was trying to Asian wash history. And herein lies the problem when we talk about history, is that to victory go the spoils, and so whoever's writing the book is going to put their perspective and their slant on it. It's inevitable. It's very hard to have a history book and it be just facts. Who's a hero, who's not a hero, how much the contributor didn't. This is all going to be debated by jerks.
Here's a question for you, though. If they just put the facts in there, that would basically like fix a lot of the issues that's going on. You get what I'm saying?
History is based on concept and context. So you can't just do a fact. Wally,
that's true. That's true.
Wally was matter of opinions. Wally was okay, but none of those statements of fact are going to have any context if we don't know that Wally grew up with this kind of parent in this kind of neighborhood and this kind of. And as soon as you start doing that, now we're adding subjective concept.
Yes.
History is subjective. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to get in trouble for this, I'm pretty sure. But you asked a question, and I answered it in chat. I think you missed it, but you said...
Yeah, I probably missed it.
We were talking about the statues, and you said, we tear them down because they were the losers. Who do we hold up that are losers? You know what the answer is, Wally?
Who?
Native Americans. They lost war after war after war. And now we bend over backwards to other them because they want it. But then they get mad about being other.
But but isn't that kind of well, no, yeah, it is the same thing. It is the same thing. But here's the thing. In a sense, is it the same thing? Because we'll say Native Americans were here. They basically got their land stolen from them, right?
That's an interesting concept.
That's what history. Okay.
Here's the problem with that. no tribe that owned land when we came over were original Native Americans.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
the
That's a
result
fair
of
point.
slaughters.
Yeah.
Welcome to history.
All right, Mal.
We
You
was all
got
killing
it.
each other, stealing from each other since the beginning of time. When
You
man
got it.
figured
I
out,
concede.
right?
You got it.
When
I
man
get where you're
figured
going.
out
I get it.
fucking kill,
Yeah.
we was taking other people's shit.
That's true. That's true. That was going on for the longest, conquering civilizations and all of that stuff. So, all right, I give you that. That damn Mal, man. The voice of reason. But yeah, you know what? So yeah, that is a fair point. So you know what? I retract my statement as far as the loser thing, but it still is a representation of to a certain group of people that it brings up bad memories for a group of people.
Okay,
That's
but
what I'll
so
say.
do Muslim mosques. And so do ladies walking around in Muslim garb. I was around for 9/11. You were around for 9/11. So I can't. So should we, I don't know, use a shower curtain around all these people so that I don't have to be constantly reminded of what their culture did?
No.
Right? We can't do that.
But think about it though. That's why when you go to southern states, a lot of them still have Confederate flags. Yes, there are people in the areas that are challenging it because some of the areas have changed. So the people that were once the predominant population are no longer, which then if that's the case, then okay, fine. You took over the area, you change whatever is in your area. I'm okay with that. But on the flip side, it's like, yeah, you're right. You can't just say, I don't want to see it, because then you would have a context for that for everything.
Right.
But here's my question though. But don't they usually do, you don't want to see this when it comes to like major atrocities, so to speak, like the Holocaust? That was a major atrocity. So people don't want to see the swastika, stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand like 9/11 was an atrocity also, but we're talking about an extended period of atrocity that's going on over a period of time. So you don't want to see any resemblance since it was something that was done over a long period of time. And I'm genuinely asking this.
You mean like seeing the Chinese symbol when we think about what Mao did? Far exceeds the Holocaust, if I remember numbers.
Yes.
Here's the problem with this game, which is the same problem we have when we're talking about history. Who did what to who, when, how many times, how far back are we going? What numbers matter? When do the numbers start and stop mattering? So on and so forth. We can have fun all day with this one, because the problem is the context. Yeah, well, you did this to me and you did that. So like one of my what abouts that I threw into the chat, you meant that I don't think was caught on. But so we can look at the concept of, we hear black folks talking about how the United States was built on the back of black slaves, all the infrastructure. Well, that's a lie. The British came over and brought Irish indentured servants and slaves to build all the infrastructure. When the first black slave arrived in the United States, all the infrastructure was already built. They was just put to work. So should we now have an Irish month? Well, if we're going to have an Irish month and we're going to have a Black History Month, well, you know what? Look at all the atrocities like that lady was talking about that the United States did to the Asian. Well, Asian's a little too broad, so now we've got to separate it from the Japanese, the Chinese, the Vietnamese, because even though they're all the same skin color, they're three completely different cultures. We only have 12 months in the year. So now we've got to go from month to, okay, every 2 weeks, but then every 2 weeks, somebody else, somebody else, somebody else, somebody else. I got one more point on the history thing, and then I'll let you hammer at me again. And here's the other reason why we can't do it. Why adding in just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit. Your kids go to school to become prepared to work in the world. They need math. They need English. They need writing. They need computer skills. It's good to know history so we don't repeat it. But every time we add a little bit, we either have to take from something else, or let me rephrase that statement. We either have to take from some of the other history we're teaching, or we have to take from their other classes so that they've got more time to learn more history.
So then my question is, okay, what is the point of altering the history if this is what the history was already, what history already was? And what do you say to the people who, because I'm from the belief also, it's like, okay, if we're going to eliminate history, why does it seem like a lot of the history are of the minority group that are being taken out of the history?
Well,
and it seems like, yeah,
you're an articulate. You've got some good computer skills, and so does Erica. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're too dumb to write a book?
Not at all.
Right. I damn well know I'm not going to say that to Erica, because I know then I'm completely talking out my ass. Right? Not to mention I'd fear for my safety, but
nah, Mal, you'll be intimidating. She'll probably be like,
Nah, my Napoleon complex. Nah, my Napoleon complex will come out on that.
Dude, I'll even look at my like, nah, I don't want those problems. I'm good.
It's the smallest dogs with the most vicious legs.
I know, right?
I know if the pit bull gets a hold of me, it's game over. But when that chihuahua gets goose fed, I'm going to be hurting for years.
Yeah.
Here's our problem. Do you know what it costs to write a book?
Nothing.
That I don't know.
It's nothing.
Don't?
It really don't.
Oh,
I can
I'm thinking publishing and all that. Yeah,
but guess what? I can publish it myself too. I can go in. I can put all the paperwork in. So yeah, it really don't cost nothing. And nowadays with ebooks, I don't even have to put it on paper.
So Erica, let's see if you can guess where this conversation is being steered to.
Here's the problem, Mal.
No. I want to see if Erica's got this game figured out.
Okay.
Why are people not putting their own history out there?
Here's the thing. Remember the debate that I had with Strategic about the N-word? When it came to you probably never saw it, but me and Strategic had a debate on the N-word. And when I was bringing up historical stuff that people chronologized, he didn't validate it, because it's like, yo, where are you pulling this from? So I understand the logic of you could write a book and teach it to your children and stuff like that. But the problem is, these kids will turn around and be like, how come I don't see this curriculum in other areas? And doubt will start to come into play, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? Like,
lack of honesty. Here's the thing. We all do it already.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to prove my point? It's really easy. Black people hating cops.
Not this black guy. I love my cops, man. I'll call the cops quick.
But you know what I mean?
But I get what you mean.
The supposed historic truth.
Yes.
About every black person being abused by the cops. Black people get pulled over more than white people. When you look at the data, we know that's not
a
true.
lie. That's a lie. White people get abused more from cops and get shot more from cops in the whole nine.
But yet, if I go into a black neighborhood, that myth is taught from family to family, from parent to child, from child to child. So we already do it.
You know, do you think it's this though? Do you think they look at it as we're shot and killed more because we're the least of the population? So when you look at the percentages, it kind of even out on that aspect.
You know what, Wally? I've had some time to think about this, and you know I love shelving, and I hear this comment that you make all the time that I'm black, I can't hide myself, I stick out like a sore thumb. Concept, right? And that's the general concept, and I'll agree that. But here's the thing: I'm white, but I still stick out like a sore thumb too. Yes, mine's by choice. I can go shave my goatee and cut my, but it doesn't matter. Just the fact that I stick out makes me a target for affection.
That is true. And I don't deny that at all. I don't deny that at all.
Erica, I mean, think about it. Me, you, and Erica go walking down the street.
They're going to look at you.
They're looking at you. I'm clean cut.
They're going to look at you because I'm
look like
clean cut. And
I'm going to look like the soccer mom. So they ain't bothering me either.
They're going to look at me first. Then they'll look at Wally a little sideways. Then they'll see her. Whatever.
They'd be like, minor threat. We're good.
Mal, you know what they would honestly say? That gotta be the most oddest bunch I've ever seen.
Here's another concept, Wally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick on Gary because he's not here.
He got no say in this matter.
So think of how Gary dresses when we see him on stream. But now put Gary next to you. Does Gary give off a different aura than you do?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Gary looks closer to me than we do to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you take all four of us going for a walk. It's a coin toss, depending on where we are. Are they going to look at me than Gary or Gary than me?
Yeah,
but I guarantee if me and Gary are shoulder to shoulder, you two are forgotten.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
That's true.
They'd be like, go on with your business.
That's
like we ain't all here together. Okay. I'll see y'all at the end of the block because they told me to go stand that way.
Yeah.
So history is fortunately a tricky thing. But this excuse that, they're getting rid of this, they're getting rid of it. Okay, you know what, Wally? While I was salivating over getting into here, I'm looking at a building in downtown Chicago. It's 3 stories. And it is $473,000. So we'll round it up to a nice even $500,000, okay? Then we're going to throw $500,000 into renovations into it. Oh, wait, shh, don't ask yet because it's a secret what we're going to do. Then what I'm going to do after the renovations is I'm going to reach out all around the world where Black people are and say, give me your storybooks. And I'm going to fill this building with nothing but Black authors. Tell me one professional sports player or my target of favoritism, Oprah Winbag. You're telling me that there's not enough financially well-off Black people that couldn't do that?
Oh, yeah, there is.
Why not?
There is.
Erica just proved that writing a book is free.
Yep.
Think about it. They only support what they support. You got Oprah's books. You got her. Think about it. She had lists when she had her shows of all of her favorite things. So she does it on a different type of scale.
I'm sorry, but the Black, not all, but the loudest voices in the Black culture look at material things as a means of flexing. Like I remember I saw Tekashi 6ix9ine. He wanted to do something for women of the community, so he went and bought them. What are them expensive bags? I forgot what they're called.
Was it the
Birkin?
No, it was the Birkin bag.
The Birkin bags, right? But then I turned around and saw the baby. A lady, there was a woman barber. She cut his hair and everybody in her crew's hair. So when he went to pay her, he gave her a substantial amount of money. And she was like in tears, like, oh my God, this helped me pay my bills and put money aside. In my mind, I'm like, this is what you call helping. You don't go buy him stupid Birkin bags and this, that, and the third. To me, that's pathetic. Don't get me wrong.
On those bags, he could have walked down and bought ownership of these buildings and handed over the titles.
But you have to think about it, though. It's the up and coming culture. They think the material things matter more than building the neighborhoods and buying the buildings and reinvesting in schools and everything else. So if as a culture you're
But now who
want
are
to be
you
flashy,
blaming?
it's a difference.
But by doing that, whitewashing has nothing to do with this, does it?
No.
No,
We could whitewash all the rest of America if we wanted to. If their neighborhoods and their communities were doing for them, guess what? It doesn't matter
But
what the
you
rest
know-
of the world's doing.
Here's what I will say though, and I could only attribute this to Haitian culture. When the French was basically enslaving the Haitians in Haiti or whatever, right? And this like I said, this is the way I perceive it, where it can be a issue, where it can show its ugly head because of this circumstance. They had something what's called, it's a type of soup called soup jumeau. And what happened was when the French basically enslaved the Haitians, every New Year's they would eat the soup jumeau. So when the soup jumeau, yeah, soup jumeau. Now, now with the soup jumeau, once the Haitians got back their freedom from the French, they made it a thing. Now it's like every New Year's we gotta have soup jumeau to show we can have this. So can it possibly be we could like passed down from generation to generation with slavery and everything like that? It's like, hey, we couldn't have these things, but now that we're able to get these things, it's ingrained in their DNA or their culture to show this is how I show, like this is my way of expressing that I can do, like I can have these things that I couldn't have before. So to speak.
I understand what you're talking about. I can give you a personal example that's funny. When I got divorced and went out on my own, I became a connoisseur de video, aka I was so used to being told no that every Friday I would go and buy new DVDs. I had a couple thousand DVDs. And it was
I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of that too.
It was my way of lashing out and stretch. I am free. Read between the lines.
Yeah.
So I ended up. I couldn't keep them in cases anymore. I had to start peeling them out and using those CD books that hold 500 discs.
Bro, I got like 20 of them things. So I feel you. I feel you.
So the concept holds true, but at some point in time. And here's the problem. I can understand the stretching of the wings and the freedom concept, but here's your problem.
Yeah.
The minute you start complaining, you're whitewashing our history. Okay. Then reinforce your history and your culture in your neighborhoods.
But you know what the problem is,
The problem is a lot of times people don't know their history. So if you don't know your history and you start looking at things and don't know if it's accurate or not, you can't really do anything.
I gotta disagree with that. I think people like the illusion of if I can use this as a scapegoat, I can always have something to complain about that shows that I'm not responsible for the position that I'm in.
It's really not hard to find out about your own culture.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's really not, right?
Because think about it. Think about it. You got people who just look at the simple concept of a person that grew up in the hood or trailer park and they did everything by every means to get out of there and become successful and move out of there and move into, you get what I'm saying? By if you're supposed to be a quote unquote product of your environment, or the diameter of your knowledge is the circumference of your activity, that person shouldn't have made it out of there. But you made a conscious decision to say,
what I mean is this. That excuse died about 15 years ago. Here's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I knew nothing about my culture, my heritage. All I had to
You do now, though, right?
All I had to do was ask 4 people and found out enough about my who, what, where, when, why that I was able to go on a tangent. I can now If I wanted to, I could go make an open chat room or an open Discord saying and call it learning about being Irish. And I can have Irish people from all around the world start joining in here, sharing with me their stories and their tales. So I can learn all about my culture. I can reach out from name one end of this globe that we can't touch, other than maybe Alaska in really bad weather kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
There ain't nowhere on the globe that our fingers can't reach out to now.
That's true.
It's our choice.
Yep.
Whether or not we want to learn about this stuff. And so we go back to when we look at Chinatown, when we look at Little Italy, when we look at Little Poland, when we go to these places, they've done exactly what I'm talking about. The local community, the local businesses build businesses to replicate their culture, sell stuff specifically that replicates their culture. And they have this nice little package where a person can go from one end to the next and learn all about it, as much or as little as they want. But the people that are from there are immersed in it 24/7.
Yeah.
We can do it, and it's not that expensive. We choose not to. So this is where we go back to the problems that you're going to yell at me for whitewashing, and I'm going to yell at you for blackwashing. And again, we can look at whether we want to use the Netflix Cleopatra, or whether we want to look at the Jesus argument, right? You're not just insulting white people by calling Jesus black. Or let me rephrase that, by calling him sub-Saharan black. You're insulting hundreds of other cultures. But we ignore that aspect of it because we're sticking it to the white man.
That's true. That's true.
Isn't that racism?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that cultural appropriation? I mean, I could be wrong, but by the definitions used against me, for instance, that's kind of where that fits in, right?
Yeah.
Another good example, everybody's favorite, Santa Claus. I mean, how many Santa Clauses are there?
Me personally,
Tons
I
of
I don't care if Santa Claus is Asian, black, white. It's a freaking fictitious character. Like,
not necessarily. Saint Nick might actually have been a real and that right. And this is where the problem with history comes in. The Santa Claus that you and I whisper into our kids' ears to get them to behave and shut up and go to sleep on the 24th, he don't exist. He's some fat dude. Ain't nobody actually seen him, so ain't nobody know what color he is. He could be purple with green polka dots for all we know. Fat man, giant sled, flying reindeer, comes down chimney, shoves presents under tree, yay us. But in some cultures, St. Nicholas is very important and very prevalent in their culture.
Yep.
Oh yeah, my kid did they did a Christmas project of different countries. I didn't realize each country had a different, some do it Christmas Eve, some do it a Christmas 3-day. Yeah, depending on the culture and the country, they different.
Wally hit it up. Harry Toad done hit you.
Got it. All right. Love this channel, but I have to go. This is a good community. Have a good night. Have a good night, Harry Toad. It was
Peace,
definitely
Harry
a pleasure. Definitely a pleasure. This is what I will say though. Like with that is true. Other cultures. The thing is though, what we got to understand is once that person of the other culture or other race or whatever the case may be now presents it to you and say, hey, this is offensive. Now you gotta, move accordingly. This is why I said the whole Marjorie Taylor thing when she said she compares the white supremacists to the N-word. That's why I've made sure I articulated. If that's offensive to her, then you should make it your diligence not to say that to her.
Right.
Because you can't tell her it's not equivalent to the N-word. That's how she feel. So you have to
That's how she
respect it.
feels.
Now,
Yeah.
if I may look at it different and say I don't agree with it, but I still have to respect your position. And that's what it comes down to.
But here's our problem with that argument, Wally.
Yeah.
You've argued exactly the opposite before in this lovely chat room.
But here's the thing. That's, you got to understand.
No. Where his ass is going with this one.
We got to understand this. Yes, that was the lead up of speaking into it, but you didn't see how the ending was going to happen, because the ending was going to bring everything all together. Because at the end of the day, you got to speak about this side of the argument, that side of the argument, and now wrap it up in a bow to the point that it's like, yo, we at the end of the day have to understand each other's plight. We just didn't get to that because I opened it up and we got into the discussion and everything like that.
Actually, no,
yeah.
I'm talking about weeks ago, on multiple occasions weeks ago. The same argument you just gave for Marjorie Taylor Greene is the opposite argument when we were talking about telling trans people and just patting them on the head and saying, you're all right, you're okay. I'm not going to other you.
You said I'm not gonna what?
Other you.
Put you in the other category.
Right.
No, but I wasn't othering her.
If a trans person came up, if a dude dressed like a chick came up and said, you're a woman, I'm a woman, do you agree or disagree? Would you call them a woman?
Yes, I would call her a woman.
Okay.
I would say a woman, but in my mind, I'm like, yo, I believe that that's a man. But out of respect for you.
So hold on. So let's take this to the next step then. Both, because whether we're talking about that or the Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you don't believe it, then you're lying to pacify. And isn't that just harmful?
But the thing is, I don't refer to anybody as a white supremacist. For me, I believe that that's a hateful word. I may say somebody's racist, but I never refer to somebody as a white supremacist. So that's why I was saying, yo, I understand why she finds it offensive. So that's what, maybe I didn't articulate it properly, but yeah, just like saying the N-word, don't get me wrong, there may be times that it may slip out on rare occasions, but I make sure I do my diligence not to use the N-word.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you can't tell a group of people not to use this word, but yeah, I'm turning around and I'm using it. And not for nothing. Yeah, go ahead, go on.
I was going to say, the only thing I was just trying to point out is that we got to make sure an omission is the same or can be the same thing as a lie. So if if I don't believe a trans woman is a woman, I'm not going to lie to them and say that I do. I don't have to be a dick about it, but I'm also not going to lie about it. And so flipping back to the Marjorie Taylor Greene, if I don't agree with her comment that white supremacy or calling somebody a white supremacist is equivalent to using the N-word, I'm not going to pacify her. I'm going to say, I'm sorry that's how you feel. I don't agree with you. And I'm going to be very blunt about that. I don't agree with you, but you do you, boo. And then I'm going to walk on, right? Mm-hmm. But an omission of a statement or by omitting a context to that statement,
I get what you're saying.
It's the same concept as lying, and so other people around can view it as you agreeing with that statement.
I get what you're saying, because that's how acceptance now came into the world, came into the realm of said, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Okay. Makes 100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Makes perfect sense. All right. So now that gives me the chance to evaluate myself and make sure not to go down that slippery slope. So that was kudos.
We're going to throw another word into this play, and it's the word we're going to use is segregationist.
Mm-hmm.
Is a segregationist the same thing as a Nazi?
I think they have similar traits.
Yeah, I think so too. That's
Talk
why
me through your thought process, please.
Okay, the reason I'm going to say they have similar traits is because think about it. Nazism was you wanted your race to be superior, I'm assuming.
Kind of.
On some level. But you also were trying to, well, when it got to the extreme, you started taking out people who did not fit your narrative. Separation for me, I feel like you believe in everybody being separate, but you're not trying to eliminate the counterpart.
Okay. So we might get a little heat for that where I'm about to go on here, but so let's look at the concept of Nazism. What the concept basically comes down to is homogeneity. Can you have two religions and be homogenous?
No.
No.
Can you have multiple cultures and be homogenous?
No.
No.
Because
So the
everybody does
argument-
not think the same.
Right. So the argument and the concept from Nazism comes from the concept that everybody is the same or you're different. And if you're different, you're the monkey wrench in the car.
See, I gotta look at it. If you're talking about marriage or spending the rest of my life with the person, then yes, it won't work. But if you're talking about socializing and doing business with, yes, your beliefs doesn't have to intertwine with my belief in order for us to come to an understanding to move forward with, XYZ. Whether it's, moving forward, like building this town for services and goods, yada yada. I believe that's yes, you can. Yeah.
So the concept of the Nazism is to eliminate all differences.
No, I get that. I get
As
that.
many
I
as
get
humanly
that.
possible. Segregationists, like Martin Luther King, believe that we should all fundamentally get along, not hate each other, not nuke each other, but you do you, I'm going to do me. We'll have some little areas that overlap. I come in,
Yes.
you come in, and we shake hands and
Yes.
do what we do, and then we walk back. Segregationist doesn't believe in killing anybody for anything. They're just saying, this is the way I want to live my life. I'm going to do it over here. So when you call a segregationist, even a white nationalist just says, look, I don't want to be a part of anybody else's culture or part of anybody else's race. I want to do me over here. That's not to say that that person wants to go out and nuke everybody. They just want their own little island to do what they do. So when you start calling these groups Nazis, just because they want to segregate or because they want to argue that certain cultures don't belong in polite society, think of what that word carries with it. Not that I want to be away from this crap, but that I want to go out and murder people to make everybody the same.
Yeah.
So that's the way that word can, or the way it's being used by these leftist hippyists, that's how they're using that word. They're insinuating that just because I want to do this thing, that it involves me going out and wiping out everybody else.
Correct. Which, like you said, I'm okay with her not being called that. But if there is another, there has to be something else to call. You can't keep just throwing out a random words, like you said, for groups that don't have anything to do with it. So if you said, hey, you nationalists, guess what? She would have understood what you were saying a lot better.
Right.
And I'm okay with that because
So
you're
I'm a
right.
nationalist. I'm a nationalist. I don't care about your skin color. This is my country. Protect my damn country. Make my country thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Which, like I said, which makes sense. But the problem is you got all of these terms and people aren't using them correctly. So then it's like, stop using it if you don't know realistically what you're saying.
That's why I don't use terms if I don't know what the hell it is. I'll just keep saying, hey, brother, hey, sister, like keep it a middle ground. But yeah, if it's something I don't understand, if I'm not educated on it, I don't even, yeah.
Well, the only reason why I'm kind of bringing it up and going back to it is just because I think the concept is kind of alien until you break it down like we just did. Why somebody might perceive this term being called a Nazi the equivalent to, right? When you're calling
Yeah.
somebody a Nazi, they can infer from it that you're claiming that that person wants to murder everybody that's different than them. Right? That carries an awful lot of weight. That I want to go out and kill everybody because they're different. And so you all should be looking at me side-eyed because you never know when I'm going to snap and start nuking people off, right? And you both know there's better reasons to be looking side-eyed at. So yeah, that was just kind of the general concept to throw down on there. Because one of the questions we've got to ask ourselves throughout here, one of my favorite examples, white people have child beauty pageants, in that when you see these little 6-8-year-old girls wearing 2 pounds of makeup, and that 99.9% of them are Karens with white Karens. Like, let's just be honest about it. When you flip on what the hell is that channel? A&E, and they got
TLC, toddlers and tiaras, and
which is crazy because I don't view them like that. That's crazy.
But
I don't know. Maybe I'm I won't say I'm oblivious, but I grew up in a multicultural area, so my views when it comes to white and black is like it's different. Where so when you saying that, you know, the little young girls with the pounds of, I never viewed them as being a Karen at all.
No. The mothers are the Karen, not the kid.
It's the mother.
No. Okay, the mother. Yeah, even then, I never.
And it's almost borderline abusive at times.
No. See, and that's where I was about to go with this. So we've got a little train station hopping to go from here. So the first time I saw that, I mean, I almost put my fist through the TV. I mean, I'm a father of 4 daughters. You're going to treat your kid like that? To me, what I was seeing on this show didn't just borderline on abuse. It's friggin' abusive. To me, and this is why I bring it up, there's no difference between toddlers and tiaras. The complaints that conservatives have about bringing children to drag shows. But here's the next secret one. And parents that videotape their young girls twerking.
Oh, man, I can't.
All of those are cringe.
Stand it. Yeah. I can't stand it. Okay, I get that dynamic because whenever I see person recording their daughter twerking or something, I look at them as you're a hood rat. Like, I just want to yeah, I look at them as, yo, you're a hood rat. You got no respect for yourself. Like, I think of like you're a degenerate, so to speak.
And you breed the next generation
so much words,
of
but yeah, that's how I look. So I get I get where you're coming from.
So look at the magic triangle.
Yeah.
But here's where I had a depressing laugh. I'm going to use one word, and then I want to see what you guys think about the word or the yeah. So this had a whole bunch of outrage not too long ago. The movie was on Netflix. It was a little show called Cuties.
Never seen it. I'm going to have to watch it.
You haven't heard? You don't know? No.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Don't watch it? Okay.
So the outrage was, guess what? A bunch of prepubescent girls dancing. What kind of dancing? Urban dancing.
Wow.
Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Like WAP dancing.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, no. I don't need to see kids doing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
so people saw this movie and flipped out. And they're calling it pedo. And it was. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm right in there on that. But then I'm sitting back the one night and I'm having my cup of coffee and and I'm like, I wonder, every woman that's complaining, calling this pedo, I wonder if I went through their social media and they had a daughter,
if they doing it,
how many of these women got videos of their young daughters twerking?
Yep.
How many of these mothers have hood rat music going on? Letting them listen to Britney Spears or Kylie, or is it Kylie Minaj or Minaj a Trois? Or
Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, I gotta have a short with that.
I'll take it. But I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm like,
I'll get you.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, what? So you're mad about cuties, but I'm willing to bet that if I go through, you're sitting, you white Karens are sitting at home watching Toddlers and Tiaras, and you other cultures are sitting there videotaping your kids twerking, but you're screaming about this movie.
You know what that reminds me of? It was the Simpson episode when Marge was getting mad about the Itchy and Scratchy show, but then when she saw the statue of David, she approved it, and they're like, "What the hell?" Like, you knew exactly what I was talking about. Like, yeah. It's like, how could you be mad at this, but you're doing it? Don't compute, you know. But
right.
Yeah, yep.
Right,
But
like
that's the thing, though. A lot of times people don't correlate it to be the same thing, and that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it as being the same thing, and it continues or it gets worse until somebody steps up and says something about it.
Well, it's the slippery slide fallacy. They call it a fallacy, and yet we see it constantly. We see it constantly. I mean, one of my favorite stories, who here knows the song Pumped Up Kicks?
I don't know it. If I heard it, I probably
all the little kids with the pumped up kicks, better run, better run.
Oh yeah.
You joke is old. I don't know what you're talking about.
This song's only about a decade old.
Yeah.
In the after show, if you want, we can pop it. You can check it out. The end of the moral of the, or the point of the story here is, so the song is about a school shooter. Okay. Do you know the first time I got to hear the song, guys? I'm walking up the street, past the church, and through the parking lot of the church to get to the Catholic K-8 school of my kids to pick them up.
Wow.
And in the parking lot of the school is 20 soccer moms with the radios blasting, singing along to this song.
Wow.
Think about that for 1 minute.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And I'm just standing there and I'm like thinking, because about 3-4 weeks prior to that, I got in trouble with the daycare. There's a song called Fake It by a band called Seether. And in it, there's a cuss word, but I had the radio edition that my kids would listen to with me. And we changed the word, "you're such a effing hypocrite," into "you're such a little hypocrite." There's nothing else inappropriate in that song other than that one word in the chorus, of which my kids didn't know that there was another word. But my devil music had the daycare threatening to call CPS and investigate. But 20 soccer moms in a Catholic school parking lot across from the church are playing a school shooter song, and this is normal.
You know what? And it's sad to say this.
That's bananas, man.
But you got to think about this. I went to Catholic school. This is all of the stuff that be in these parents' handbooks that they don't read.
Yeah.
They just don't. And then they get mad when the school decides to kick their kid out because you're doing stuff inappropriate on campus or in the parking lot, which is an inclusion of being at campus.
Yep.
But then
School
they get
grounds.
upset. Like there aren't rules and policies.
Here's the problem. How do you call what those parents were doing inappropriate when all they were doing is listening to the top 40 radio station.
Yes, that's true.
I get that, but the problem with that is radio is not edited in most states. Matter of fact, in most countries either. So if you're not having an edited version song playing and you're playing it loud enough around the kids, then no. Like, I'm not telling you to go pick your kid up with no music on, but it's hard. That's why my kids don't listen to regular radio.
Yeah, but you could make the conscious decision to not play that type of music around them. You save that for when they're not around. And like, for instance, me with my kids, I have a playlist that is curse free, but when I'm in the car by myself, I'm listening to whatever the heck I want to. So it's about etiquette.
Correct, but I'm also not going to be blasting that in the parking lot of a church, in a school. You also have to pay attention to where you're at. So even if I'm in the car by myself listening to my music, it's not going to be loud enough if the window is down for somebody to be able to hear it. Because think about it, especially if it's warm outside.
I get
windows
that
down, music cranked up. Like, you still have to pay
100%.
attention to where you're at.
I get that 100%. It's the
Here's the thing, though, that I think is kind of going over. I'm going to tease both of you, but over both of your guys' head. And that's if let's say we pulled out all 20 of those soccer moms and pulled them off to the side and asked them what the song was about. How many of them would have any clue of what the hell they were listening to?
Nope.
Or is it, it's got a catchy beat and it's on the top 40, so it must be okay. Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
What's
I don't
crazy?
pay attention to the words. I don't know half of the words of the song.
That happened to me many of times where I just listen to a song and don't even pay attention till one day I literally sit down and listen to it. And I'm like, that like the last song I could remember that that did that to me was one of Nas' song, I Gave You Power. And that song was about him rapping in the perspective of he's a gun. So like that song, and the only reason why I like it registered because I was listening to one day and I think, what did he say? He basically was he was like, the way he narrated was weeks went by, still stuck on the shelf with all the things that are outlaw highs. Basically, he was saying like the guy that picked him up, put him on the shelf, and one day the guy came inside where he had him at, where he had the gun, grabbed the gun, went to confront the guy, and went to shoot him. And Nas was like, in his perspective, this time that the guy went to pull the trigger, it felt wrong. I held on, knowing that the situation was whatever. He squeezed harder. I didn't budge. Sick of the grudge. Sick of the last man's grudge. Something like that. So the other guy pulled out and shot him. And after he shot him, he was like, he hit the ground when the guy killed him and shot him, and he was like, now that I don't have an owner, I'm basically happy that I'm on the ground and don't have an owner until somebody else grabbed me. And he was like, damn, like I'm paraphrasing, but he broke it into a rhyme, but that's how he broke it down. And he was like, I was on the ground and felt happy until I felt somebody else grab me. Damn. And when he said that, it registered. I was like, wait, is he talking to the perspective that he's a gun? And I'm listening to this song the whole time and it didn't register. So you're right. These women will listen, or people will listen to music and it don't register what's being said.
Now I'm picking on women. I'm picking on women.
Men too.
Well, no, I have a reason for putting more of the onus on the women. Okay. And that is that men don't typically listen to the top 40 channels.
That's true. We listen to what we like and stick to it. We listen to what we like and stick to it.
Or sports channel.
Yeah.
It's what you like, or sports and talk radio.
just think about it, Mal. You'll say to yourself, yo, I like 80s music, 90s music. That's what I like. That's what I'm sticking to. You don't change, you don't budge. That's what men typically do.
Right.
Because
or we have our genre, right?
Yep.
Like we hop in the car and we've got one genre or genre that matches our mood. And so I hop in the car, I'm in an angry mood, I'm going to throw in my Ministry or my, what have you. And I throw it on and I just hammering through as I'm going along, right?
Because that's the mood you're in, you know?
Right. I'm in sentimental mood, so I'm listening to a lot of 80s rock, metal rock, because the guitar solos and stuff like so on and so forth. Very few men hop in their car and tune it to the FM top 40 channel.
Yes.
Right? You don't have a lot of men hopping along on their wheels, arm hanging out the window, listening to what's that Passenger? The song was Passenger. Duke reminds me of an Irish Kermit the Frog. Let Her Go or something like that.
Yeah. You're right. The only time a dude is gonna listen to the top 40s is if there's no aux cable, no CD or nothing, and you're only restricted to the radio. That's it.
And the radio's broken.
Yeah. You're absolutely right on that. You're absolutely right.
I listen to Kids Bop, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, I do not miss Kids Bop. I really do miss that.
Yeah.
And Kids Bop is better than Disney. It's better than the Disney one.
Yo, Kids Bop, them songs sometimes be sounding better than the regular version. Like, yo, Kids Bop is where it's at, man.
I'm gonna have some fun with you guys. Like we've talked about or hinted at before. There's me and Gary, but I think there'll be some of us. When I start taking you guys through the music reactions and some of the songs that we're gonna do, because we're gonna do things like some triple headers. I'll give you an example. We all remember Soft Cell, Tainted Love.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Love that song.
Yeah, do you know that Marilyn Manson did a new metal version of it?
Yeah.
And then I also have a band that I love, Social Distortion, who did a punk version of it. So imagine doing a triple header.
Yeah.
Same song, 3 different styles. Or we can look at Trent Reznor and versus Johnny Cash in the song Her.
Gotcha. Okay. Now I gotta ask because I know for me, when it comes to listening to songs where they had the original, then the remake and the remake, do you tend to like the original better, or sometimes you like the remix better?
There's cases where I like the remix better.
Okay.
So I can actually give you some examples. Take Sound of Silence, originally done by a band called Simon and Garfunkel. Old classic folk music. Redone by a band called Disturbed. You might know Disturbed from Down with the Sickness. Or,
yeah.
Right? All right. So here's a song where I love both songs equally because when you listen to them, Simon and Garfunkel was a warning. Disturbed was a statement of fact. So Simon and Garfunkel, you can almost listen to the two songs. You listen to them back to back. You listen to Simon and Garfunkel, and the song comes across as a warning. Beware, you're heading down this path. And then when you get into this Disturbed version, it's like you've already passed the road sign. The brakes aren't going to be enough. You're done, right? So it's the same song done 2 different ways that I love equally because of their differences in them. There's one I'm going to tease Gary with as an example. Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. Can't stand it. The lead singer from Soundgarden, Chris Cornell, does a cover of it. Absolutely.
And you love it.
Absolutely love it. Alien Ant Farm is another one. I don't know what it is about Michael Jackson, but Alien Ant Farm redid Smooth Criminal.
I heard that. I heard it before.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm not Johnny Cash's cover is better than Trent Reznor. Nine Inch Nails was the original one to do the song. So there's tons of examples where that you can love both, but for different reasons, like the newer versus the old. But it also depends on your taste in music.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a really fun example. I don't see Erica being a big metalhead.
Nah,
right?
she wouldn't be.
You
She
know what?
wouldn't
I
be.
listened to a few things because it was stuff that I heard other people listen to. But you're
But
right.
overall,
No. I listen to
well,
probably 2 genres, and that's about it.
put it like this: if it wasn't in Rock Band or Guitar Heroes,
Yeah.
then
Well, and that's what it is. If it's something that I've heard multiple times because of the type of games I used to play.
yeah.
So here's a good example for you, because Erica's also around the age group where this song might hold sentimental
value.
Thank you to her. And that is Careless Whisper. Do you remember the song Careless Whisper?
I don't think she remembers.
I'm not sure.
Never gonna dance again.
Yes.
Something shoes and got no rhythm.
Got no rhythm.
Okay. So the original one was George Michael.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Soft.
I love that one.
Yeah. Check out Careless Whisper, Seether.
We listened to that.
Yeah.
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we popped that. Right.
Yeah.
And here you've got the harsh guitar, the and stuff like that. Same song, 2 different feelings. Where George Michael, it was a sad but sultry song, where Seether's version is a sad, angry song. Right? Like you can feel this guy beating himself up to the point of getting angry with himself, and then at the world throughout the song. Where George Michael's version, you can feel this guy being sad and almost kind of sitting in the corner with his head in his hands. What did I do? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time, folks. Peace, y'all. I love you. I think we're seeing everybody tomorrow.
Yeah, we definitely gonna be on tomorrow. Definitely. And it's good that we had that definitely that conversation and everything too, breaking everything down. But we'll convene again tomorrow. We'll definitely convene again tomorrow. Appreciate you being on, Mal. All right. So we're gonna wrap this up, but before we wrap this up, what we're gonna tie it down to is pretty much when it comes to this whole thing, where it comes to race and all of this stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's about understanding one another, taking the time to actually get to know each other, and don't let a person just because of the color of their skin, impede you from actually whether connecting with that person, working with that person, treating that person with respect, because that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. Respect. So if you're treating everybody with respect the way that you want to be treated, what the hell does it matter what the person's color is?
You're right.
That's what
Color,
it comes down
culture,
to.
it really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
A person is a person.
Exactly.
And you respect that person, because guess what? That could be potentially a good friend. It potentially could be somebody that enjoys the same things you do, and you'd never know by you isolating yourself against other people.
And remember earlier when I said I forgot what I was gonna say, it just came back to me. What I was gonna say was if you teach well-rounded history of no matter what the person's color or race was in history, that they had an impact on helping America be the great country that it is today, that would help drown out the noise that media pumps, where it's like, oh, these group of people are just criminals and this, that, and the third. It gives people another perspective where it's like, yo, these people aren't just criminal. They actually went on to do great things. And there's people in this community that actually does great things. That's what I forgot to say in that moment or whatever. But yeah, man, we need to definitely stop this color barrier thing and pretty much work with one another. Once we can basically do those things, build our communities back, work with one another, respect each other, I think we'll be on to bigger and better things. And all this hatred that you're seeing nowadays will come to a minimum, so to speak. But don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work to accomplish those things. But at the end of the day, it starts with us. It starts with the nuclear family. Then it trickles down to the community. Once you establish those things, then it can venture out to the world. Final thoughts, Erica P, before we wrap this up.
Final thoughts. Keep having conversations like these. Keep informing, keep educating, keep bringing the information to the forefront. That is the only way we will be able to get some kind of change.
Yes. With that being said, do you think we can make this a everyday Friday? Well, the goal is to try and do it every Friday. So you think we could keep that schedule? Every Friday night?
I'm not sure yet. We'll try. I can make an attempt. We can try.
Ah, boy, you see, man, we trying to get this matter of opinion, on a regular thing, and now you messing it up. She just messed up my vibe, y'all. She messed up my vibe. I'm gonna put it out there. We're gonna try and make this happen not every Friday, 9 p.m. That's gonna be the goal. Damn it, I said it. We're gonna make it happen. So we will see you, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow evening for the Gary Lamb Network and Matter of Opinion collaboration. Definitely, Gary, appreciate having this simultaneously stream on Matter of Opinion and the Gary Lamb Network. Definitely appreciate it, brother. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night, and we will see you guys next Friday. And definitely smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel, Matter of Opinion. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. Love everybody. Be safe. And we will catch you on the next one. Peace.